Oh, okay. This meeting is
Okay,
being recorded.
got it.
Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 14 of WhatMS. It's been a while since I've recorded an episode. I'm actually feeling very, very messy today. Had my Ocrevus treatment on not even a week ago, so I'm a bit sort of not really with it, but Brandon's going to help me out with this. So yeah, this is Brandon, everyone. His Instagram handle is MS&Cannabis, if you'd like to have a nosy at his social media. And today, surprisingly, we are going to be discussing medicinal cannabis and cannabis in relation to multiple sclerosis, and kind of, yeah, everything surrounded that basically. So yeah, hi Brandon, welcome. Um,
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me. I
no,
truly appreciate it. All the
no,
way across the pond over here.
yeah. And Brandon has got up at like 6 in the morning to record this with me, so I'm much appreciative of that. So yeah, Brandon, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you, your story, and just sort of, yeah, give us a bit of an
Absolutely.
overview?
Oh, absolutely. I've been looking so forward to coming on your show. I've definitely been following you since the inception of your show, and I really like the topics you usually pick and who you speak with have got so much insight to this disease and other things, because you don't just stick with one subject. And I think I love that the most about your show because you do capture a lot and you speak to a lot of different people, and I love that. But yeah, I was diagnosed in 2010. Um, I had some issues going on before, so some symptoms, some drop foot, a little numbness, but I wasn't too sure what was going on. I thought I was causing it due to my lifestyle. I drank a lot. I worked really hard outside, long days. So I thought I was just fatigued or whatever the normal stuff was. Uh, and it wasn't until about 3 or 4 years later of having more and more symptoms stack up that I was finally diagnosed. So grateful when it happened.
Mm.
I had no insurance at the time, no coverage. I just walked into an ER at the hospital and said, "Hey, something's wrong with me. Help me." And they did. Thank goodness they did. Um, but it's been an interesting journey. I started off on within a study. They do multiple studies. I'm sure they do them there too. But I got very lucky and I got in with a really good hospital. And for the first 3 years, they didn't tell me what medications I was on, but I knew I was at least getting some sort of medication because that's the study I chose. I said, I can't do any placebos, no placebos. I need medication because I am sick. Something's going on. Uh, so luckily they got me into something, and I believe I was taking Avonex. That's what I think we kind of determined that that's what they were studying against. And for the first 3 years, I did okay, but then I just started to slowly deteriorate each year. And when I say deteriorate, it's not like I'm a bag of mush. I can still get a lot done, but a lot of movement, mobility has been kind of stripped away from me. So I just try to find other ways to get around, different equipment I can use, different things, natural things that I can use to help me feel better. Because, like you, I'm also on Ocrevus. Yay, I love
Yeah.
it. It does make me feel, like you said, a little bit messy. I feel a little foggy for a few days, up to a week afterwards. Um, the steroids might help me those first 2 days feel a
Yeah.
little bit stronger, but then after that, I feel like I just gain weight. So I don't
Mhm.
really prefer the steroids, but gotta take them uh, with the Ocrevus anyway. And so I've been on that since 2017. As soon as
Okay.
it became legal over here, or not legal, but offered through the insurance, because prior to 2017, I believe it was all in studies. So there were people that were on it, but it wasn't mainstream yet.
Hmm.
I got really lucky. My neurologist is amazing. Um, and he's really helped me since 2017. And I can honestly say that even though some of my symptoms may have gotten worse or may have changed to where I can't do some of the same things, there's a lot that has gotten better. And with the fact that I'm still glad I've got this up here. As soon as this thing starts to go, I may check out from social media and stop talking to people because I don't want to seem like a goofball or an idiot.
Yeah.
Because I know MS can kind of make you really foggy at some point. It can make you trip over your words, and not a lot of fun to have conversations like that. That's for sure. But mostly for the majority of my multiple sclerosis history, I've utilized cannabis to help me feel better. And it's not about getting high, because I definitely don't even really get high anymore because of the way I use it and how I counterbalance it with CBDs. But I've been very grateful for this plant to help me in my path. I don't think I would be the same person without it, because I know when I first started feeling a lot of pain back in like 2011, 2012, I did take pharmaceutical pain medications. And wow, I was a different person for those couple of years. I didn't like it. I didn't like the way my body felt. And even worse than the steroids, that made me retain a lot of weight. I was really puffy all the time, and I just looked sick.
Which
So
medications were you on?
I was taking baclofen and hydrocodone.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was really the hydrocodone that did the worst damage. And I knew just from past history and knowing people who've had addiction problems that there's only one place that leads. If you continue to take pain medication, you're only going to become dependent on it. I'm not saying become a drug addict, but your body is going to start to depend on it. And if you take that away suddenly, it could be really dangerous. So I slowly, over about a 2-year period, just started taking less and less. And then finally, I'd say it was around 2016 that I just completely stopped all pain medications in that sense. And now I simply just take the Ocrevus and cannabis.
Same, same, to be honest. I've been offered all sorts of like pharmaceutical drugs, but I see it as that once you, like you say, once you start taking it, you're kind of like stuck with that, like sort of indefinitely, like, our illness is incurable. So in my head, I'm like, I want it, if I'm ever going to do that, it's going to be that I'm so desperate that I will take something. But yeah, I mean, I've had a really bad, I've talked about it, I think, on here about, I had to go to rehab to get off a pharmaceutical drug that they do actually prescribe over here for MS. They give it to a lot of people, and I had a really, really bad experience. And yeah, no, not again, not again. What was I going to say? Yeah, sorry, carry on. I've just interrupted.
Oh, no, it's perfectly fine. I agree with you. Being more healthy, and when people hear the word healthy, they automatically think fruits and vegetables and exercise 24/7, and that's just not what it is. Being healthy means a whole slew of things you can do for your lifestyle to even just change it a little bit, and not doing it all at once, because that's another head trip. You try to do everything all at once, you're probably not going to accomplish much. Take it little by little, take out one thing and replace it with another, and slowly start to change what you put inside your body. Will have a huge difference. And at first I didn't believe that until I started to feel it. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay, I feel actually better. Imagine that. They were right.
Yeah, who would have thought?
Who would have thought? But sometimes it can get overbearing with everybody's opinions about, oh, I had a brother, sister, cousin who got healed and all they did was yoga and eat oranges every day of the week. And it's like, okay, that doesn't work.
Yeah. No, people love to give unsolicited advice. I used to
Right.
Yeah, I used to sort of listen to it, but now I just shut people down pretty much immediately when people try and
Yeah.
tell me what to do. And that was another thing I was going to say. I mean, like, I talk quite openly about what I do for my illness and to keep me kind of in a place where I'm able to function. And I think you'd be the same. And you're not. I'm not saying to people you should smoke cannabis or take cannabis or use cannabis products. I would never ever push that on anyone, because I think it's really important to sort of respect what people do with their own bodies. But equally, I think it's beneficial for people like ourselves to discuss the things that we do use to help us with our illness, because like you, I mean, I would say cannabis has helped me for years, even unknowingly, when before I was even diagnosed. um and I think there's a lot of, like, especially there is over here, like, a lot of sort of stigma around using it. It's got a lot better actually, kind of, now I'm a bit older, but still people will sort of be a bit funny about it, and it's hilarious that people are more okay with it because I have a chronic illness now, but actually I've been using it for years, since I was a teenager. um Pretty much every day. Like, and I've still achieved, I've still, you know I still
Yeah.
worked, I still, I'm not like a bum. And I think it's got this sort of like stereotype around it that stoners are lazy, and it's absolutely, like, not true at all. And that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, like, how old were you when you started using it? Sort of, because I think you were the same as me, and that before diagnosis. Am I right?
Absolutely, yes. I used it many years before diagnosis, kind of when I started in high school. But I didn't really know, I didn't really use it as the purpose of, oh, I'm using this to feel better,
Mm-hmm.
until I think directly after high school, when I realized that, hey, I've got some anxiety issues and I've got some fear of being in groups, around large groups. And I noticed that when I would ingest cannabis products, it would totally help change that mood and make me go along with the flow a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so yeah, once I started to realize that it was more like a medicine into my 20s, it for sure was one of my first go-to. As soon as I realized, oh, you're sick with MS, I just knew in my head, okay, this is going to be more of a part of my life. So I need to figure out proper usage, proper dosage, figure out what works for me, etc. And I agree with you completely. I would never recommend to anybody, oh, you should just smoke weed,
Mm-hmm.
or oh, you should just eat an edible or whatever. Um, First and foremost, I never recommend smoking it, especially if they never have. I
Mm-hmm.
always recommend eating it in some way, because it's better for you and it actually works better. Takes a little longer to kick in, but it works better ultimately. Because I deal with a lot of older people who are like 80, and I would never suggest to them, hey, why don't you start smoking something at
Yeah.
this point in your life? That just seems counterproductive, for feeling better, because that's what it's all about, is feeling better. But I agree with you, using it before kind of realizing it, why I was using it, and then kind of clicking in my head, oh, this is more than just being a doper or, like you said, a lazy stoner. And personally, I've never actually met a lazy stoner. I've never met one.
I have, but I've also
Oh,
met a lot of very, very
okay.
intelligent, motivated people that also use cannabis as,
Yeah.
it's like having a drink in the evenings. Like, that's how I've always seen it. I'd have a spliff before I went to sleep, like, sort of to wind down in the evenings. And I think I didn't realize. So my thing would be, I'd always get to kind of early afternoon time, and my fatigue would just be ridiculous. And I never knew why that was, and why. And I would sort of, I'd be in the house on my own, and have a joint, and it would, yeah, it would relax me. And I think for a long time it was actually masking symptoms. I don't know about you, but my symptoms get a lot worse the more tired I am. So the later in the day, that is when I will, my MS will sort of say hello a lot more. And I think that just because I was using it regularly, it was almost like, I knew those things were sort of happening, but it sort of took the edge off, as I know it does now. So it's like, it's quite interesting that, yeah, I mean, I actually gave it up. That was interesting as well, that just before my diagnosis, I had a break from it because I was staying with my dad. And actually my MS got a lot worse. And that was actually, and then I relapsed, and then it led to my diagnosis. And I remember sort of thinking, I need to somehow like introduce this back in again, because I actually think that it was helping me a lot more than I initially realized. And I think probably maybe taking that away was not a good idea. But, you know, that's anecdotal, and, you know, there's no evidence to show that. But there are studies that I think there's one study that shows that it does actually slow the progression of our illness. I swear there is one research paper that sort of said that, but I'll have to pull that out from somewhere and see if I can find it.
Oh, I would love to read that.
Yeah, I'm so sure I read that somewhere, because I found that really interesting, because it was around that time when I was obviously looking into obviously everything. And but yeah, I mean, it's been just something in my life that's not a big deal, because I grew up around it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was just sort of, you know, some people are really outraged by it, but it was just nothing to me. It was just kind of, you know, in my life, everyone around me, you know, I don't know. I have nothing bad really to say about it. I've never had a bad experience, apart from like one time when I whiteyed at a party when I smoked a whole joint in about 5 minutes and then threw up everywhere. But other than that, I've never really had a bad experience, and I've never had paranoia or kind of like any of the, you know, but the thing is, they are real side effects, and that can affect people, and that is something to definitely consider when you're thinking about, you know, do I want to do this or not? Because it works for some people and it doesn't work for others. And I think, again, that's an important point that we should sort of stress, is it's not for everyone, but equally it works very well for some people. And I don't think that people like us should be sort of almost punished or like shamed for using something that is natural and helps us in so many different ways. I was going to say to you, so how do you consume your cannabis? Like, this is what I was just thinking before we came on here.
Well, I do personally smoke it because I've always smoked it, you know, since I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that that works kind of best for me for immediate effect,
Mm-hmm.
but I also eat it every day in multiple forms. One of my favorite right now are these little gummies that I get. They're so
Amazing.
good. And I'll send you like links and stuff to all of this so you can see exactly what the products are. But I like gummies because they just taste good. And then I love chocolate. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I don't think anybody can go wrong with chocolate. And then, of course, I use, uh, which is widely becoming very, very popular all over, is just like the tinctures, which I put right underneath my tongue. Uh, but most of all, I do like to smoke it, and I prefer the flowers. I know that vape cartridges and dabbing and all that stuff, that's all becoming very new,
Mm-hmm.
which I think that kind of turns some of the people who are getting sick now or never used cannabis before, it kind of scares them because they're
Mm-hmm.
like, whoa, what is that? I don't really know if I'm okay with that. Like, I'm barely okay with a little bit of this. So it can get rather scary. And to the point you were saying, I definitely don't recommend it for everybody. Uh, I always love to point out how doctors, surgeons, everybody, from the smallest to the largest, they are called practices because they are still practicing medicine. They're in a practice. They don't get it right every time. They can prescribe you a medicine
Mm-hmm.
that is completely wrong for your body. And it's up to us as the patient to go back to them and say, hey, doc, that didn't work. And so you narrow it down, you change doses, you try a different product to see what's going to work. And then when you land on what works, you kind of stick with it and then tweak it as you need it throughout your life, because some days are worse than others. So some days you may not need a whole bunch of it, or some days you may not need any of it. But again, it's a practice. They're still trying to figure it out. And people who are trying to figure out how to use cannabis for themselves, I'll tell you right now, don't beat yourself up over not getting it right the first time, because almost no one does. And I agree with you too. Paranoia, all of those symptoms that can kind of be associated, they are very real for some people. Just like some people can't take opiates. They get really, really sick if they take an opiate medication. So it's very, very similar. And that's kind of how I like to approach it with people when I'm trying to maybe educate them or teach them something new if they don't know it. Is just that it's okay if you don't get it right the first time. Try and try again until you figure out what does work for you personally.
Yeah, I
I'm going to
agree.
smoke too, by the way, if you
Yeah,
don't
go
mind.
for it. Go for it. I mean, yeah, I smoke it. I think there's again a bit of controversy with that, in that I do smoke it with a small amount of tobacco, which is obviously not ideal for people with MS. I don't know about you. What do you smoke it just in like a blunt, or do you put a bit of tobacco in?
No, we don't do this the tobacco over here like a
Really?
lot of Europeans and a lot of people over there, UK and stuff. I have a lot of friends who do that are from over there. And I've tried it. I just don't prefer it. I used to smoke cigarettes and I've stopped, so I don't even I don't even really like blunts, just because the tobacco in the leaf can kind of be kind of harsh. So I prefer joints, or just a bowl of flowers. I like the flowers. I'm kind of old school like that.
When you say flowers, what do you mean? Just like,
Oh, sorry, like the buds, the
yeah, yeah.
buds.
So yeah, that would be what I smoke as
Sorry,
well.
yes, we call them flowers.
Yeah, I like that. That's cute. I might start calling it that.
Well, I mean, it's a technical term. When the plant is growing and it buds, that's a made up term saying it's budding. Well, it's flowering. That's technically what it is. So they kind of some of us over here can get a little snobby. So sorry if I sound kind of snobby about it. I'm like hoity toity.
No, I like that. I like that. I think the reason I like sort of smoking like it as a joint is because, and again, for people that haven't smoked it before, I think with an edible that you are kind of going straight in and sort of diving in, and like once you've eaten that and taken that, you have to sort of ride it out. Whereas with like a joint or a blunt or a spliff, whatever you want to call it, you can have a little bit, put it down, see how you feel. If you want a little bit more, and that's just kind of how I smoke in the evenings anyway. And like you said, sometimes I'll smoke half a joint, sometimes I'll smoke two. Like it just depends on how I'm feeling or what I need, or what I want from my body, sort of thing. Um, but yeah, I was going to ask you kind of, so how would you say that it helps your MS? Like in what ways?
First and foremost is the pain, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, when I actually ingest the cannabis and it starts to take effect, my thoughts actually become a little bit clearer.
Mm-hmm.
They're not as jumbled or as racing, um, because, like very well with MS, we can get confused like that. We can be on a perfect subject, have a perfect sentence, and then all of a sudden, bleh. But I noticed that with the cannabis, it helps me think better, think clear. Um, Definitely with spasticity
Mm-hmm.
and spasms, because I have really bad leg issues, and then I have minor hand tremors. But one of my biggest things lately is my left hand is starting to just close up. So it kind of just sits like this constantly. So I've been trying to work on that. And I've noticed that with the edibles, when I eat the edibles, I become a little looser in my fingers and my hands and my joints, to make it easier to stretch and to do the activities that I need to do. I always keep little things right next to me. That way, when I need to work out my hand, I have my little putty
Oh,
stuff
awesome.
here. I have my little blocks that I get from my physical therapist, and all the rubber bands and stuff. And I try to keep those things near me, so that way, when and if I do feel well enough to maybe exercise or put a few reps in or get a stretch in, I do it. And cannabis really helps me actually stay motivated for that, because I want to feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't want to feel poorly just sitting here. So if I'm gonna have to just sit here, I might as well be doing something to help myself.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's I don't think people realize how good of a painkiller it actually is. I mean, before I was diagnosed with MS, I remember two instances in particular. One was when I had excruciating toothache and absolutely nothing would touch it. Like, and I remember literally wanting to like rip my mouth off. And I remember I had some hash. This was years ago now. And I remember having this hash joint and it literally like took the pain away. And I was just like, wow, like that's insane. And equally when I did my back injury, like I was on all sorts of drugs, you know, morphine, like they put me on this horrible prescription drug, which I obviously had to go to rehab to get off and all that. And it just wasn't touching it. The only thing really that would take the edge off was, you know, back whenever it was 2 years ago, I was smoking a lot and I was smoking in the day, but purely because it was the only thing that would take the pain away. And I just, yeah, I think it's just magical almost. It's underrated as a painkiller, as a general painkiller. So you know, I'm in pain a lot of the time. Most of the time, I'm in pain right now. I've got nerve pain all at my hand, like and up into my arm. And like I say, especially in the evenings, you just want to just like I keep saying, take the edge off that pain. And yeah, I mean, I think it's been helping a lot longer than I've realised. But yeah, it's a great, in my opinion, it's an amazing drug. Um,
Right.
but obviously it's different over here for because it's legal. Is it legal where you are? This is
They did just recently change the laws in Arizona. That's where I'm physically located. And they did make it recreational. So everybody 21 and older can go into
wow.
a dispensary that offers it and order products. It is taxed like crazy. So if you're it still makes more sense to become a medical patient. I'm technically a
Mhm.
medical patient. I have my little card that I take in. And so there's no the taxes are not as high for that, which is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, more and more states here are adopting that same uh, uh, ideology of okay, we're seeing these states not only provide revenue, but we're actually seeing where drug usage, as far as opiates, heavy narcotics, those things are going down. You might see big busts still, all of that still happens, especially since I live on a border state with Mexico.
Hmm.
It's still very prevalent, but the technical numbers from hospitals, from rehabs, and from the morgue are down for heavy narcotic use because of cannabis, they believe.
Yeah.
So I definitely believe we're on the right path. And I think you guys over there will follow suit shortly. I definitely believe that your government will see how good it can be for the economy, and then it doesn't just turn people into a bunch of drug addicts. And I think that's what a lot of people fear. Like you said, they don't understand, and they were always taught gateway drug. It's the
Mm-mm.
first drug you use before you start smoking crack and shooting heroin. And it's like, no, no, that's not how that works, you
Yeah.
know. But like you mentioned, take the edge off, and I think that's a very interesting term because so many people, as I'm sure over there, like to have a beer or a
Hmm.
glass of wine or a
Hmm.
shot of whiskey. And even if it's just one or two at the end of every day, to make themselves feel better, to relax when they get home, to be able to sleep better, to do a number of different things, and how that's so widely acceptable to do that. But yet to take a puff or to eat an edible is like, oh, you're doing drugs.
Yeah. Well, alcohol's a drug. I mean, I would argue that alcohol is more of a gateway drug, as you said, than smoking cannabis would be, to be honest.
Exactly. It's the first thing I started with.
Yeah,
I
same.
drank when I was like 10 or 11 or 12 or something like that. I got caught drinking beer before, long before I ever got caught smoking weed.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, I was going to say something and it's just completely gone. What was I going to say? Yeah, I mean, so obviously, like over here, it's illegal still. I mean,
What about CBD? How is that kind of faring with some of your stuff? Or is it just in the same category, or are you guys able to get CBD products?
yeah, so you can buy CBD legally, and there are some good companies. I think this Love Hemp is one, and CBD Brothers. I think they're both quite legit. I've used both of their products. Um, there's an interesting story actually with my CBD. So when I first ever tried it, I didn't know that that I had MS. So I used to think that, I've talked about this before. I used to think my MS was anxiety, because this is what I was told by all the medical professionals. And I'd gone to like a big like convention. It's called Body Power over here, and it's kind of like, it's just like a fitness industry kind of like, yeah, just like a convention. There's like stalls and like different brands and some like kind of, I don't know, fitness celebrities, if you want to call them that. And you buy a ticket and you go, and it's like a day or whatever. And there was this stall, and it was the Love Hemp stall actually. And I was actually on competition prep, so I should not have been eating the chocolate, but they had all these samples of like these little CBD chocolates, and it was like a really nice, like high quality chocolate, and was also had a dosage of CBD in it. So I was like very MSy that day, but to me it was anxious. I thought I was anxious. I was getting all my symptoms. My vision was funny. My bladder. I was driving everyone up the wall because it's in this big, massive hall. And I was literally like, guys, I need to go to the toilet again. And everyone would be like, hey, Katt, like, come on, like, and I was like, look, I'm really sorry, kind of thing. And I was like, one of my things is it's almost like breathlessness I get. So it is actually quite like anxiety, but I know now it's my MS. And I was like, and it makes me go a bit sort of quiet and like reserved, and sort of, because I don't feel well. And I didn't know then why I wasn't feeling well. But anyway, we walked past this stall, and I was like, obviously, like, it was Love Hemp. So I was like, oh, this is interesting, because obviously, I smoke weed anyway. And so I was having a look at their products, and I had tried some of this chocolate. I was like, oh my God, it's really nice. And then within about half an hour, I was like, feel a bit better actually. And it was when I'd done my back injury as well. And it was like that it like I said, taken the edge off the pain. And I was thinking, some weird. Like, so anyway, I just kept walking back and forth past this stall every time, taking some more of this chocolate. So I must have consumed like quite a lot of it, to be fair. But I remember the people that I was with, and like my friend saying, she was like, you're like a different person than you were this morning. Like, because I just felt better. It was really weird. And it was like, obviously I didn't know what was going on at the time, but both the pain in my back and also my anxiety, which was actually my MS, was sort of helped by that, eating that CBD infused chocolate. So I remember I bought a shitload of it and took it home, brought it home with me. But yeah, I mean, I rated it massively. So, and that was, I didn't know what was going on then. So it's not like I'm saying it kind of after the fact and being like, oh yeah, it probably definitely helped me. It was like I'd realized that it had helped me before I even knew how it was helping me, if that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, I have used it. When I first got diagnosed, my spasticity in my legs was really, really bad. And I mean, it still is now, but it's probably not as bad as it was. But I mean, I was taking it every day, and I know it was making a difference. And then obviously I would, would smoke in the evenings as well. But yeah, I mean, I think as much as I would say I prefer smoking it and having it that way, I think CBD definitely has its benefits, and sort of a high quality CBD product. There are some here in the UK that you can get legally. They're definitely worth a try if you've got MS and you're struggling with your symptoms or whatever, and you don't really want to spark up a joint or kind of go all in and go straight into sort of the hard stuff, as we'll call it. But yeah, I mean, I think both I know both I think both have their benefits. I mean, what would you say the difference is for you? I mean, what are your CBD products like where you are?
I honestly, I feel that they work so well together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, kind of like peanut butter and jelly.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have one without the other for me. The best way I like to describe it to potentially new either newly diagnosed or people new to cannabis in any sense, is that CBD is the non-psychoactive. So
Mm-hmm.
no head change,
Mm-hmm.
but it does help the body, which sometimes, like you said, I need to spark up a joint so that way I can have that head change a little bit, make me feel better up here, less foggy. And then the CBD products do all the rest of the work. They do all the heavy lifting. They do all the hard work for my body. They help with my back pain. They help with the spasticity. They help lower tremors. Um, Especially at night when I get ready for bed. That is when I always, some days I feel like I woke up and I ran a marathon because I spasm so much while I'm sleeping and I don't know it. And a high dose of CBD before bed helps stop that. I still move around a lot, but no more tightening of the muscles so bad.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I absolutely love the Hempful Farms products that I use out here. I've utilized their products for almost a decade. The guy who started the company, he's been around Arizona since Arizona started with changing the laws, I believe in like 2010, when we first went medicinal. Because that's what a lot of states do first. They go
Mm-hmm.
medicinal, and then there's a list of people who can actually get that. From cancer to anxiety to different things are on each list. And then the states will switch to recreational, is what they call it, to where anybody 21 and over can get it, which I honestly think that at a bare minimum, CBD should be everywhere in the world, allowed everywhere in the world, because of the fact that it doesn't change
Yeah.
the head. So why they need more research, I don't
Mm-hmm.
get it.
Yeah. I would
Recently, I don't want to be
agree.
all political or anything, but recently some drugs were approved that didn't have a lot of research, but they were going to help the greater good. But yet cannabis has been around since what, like 5,000 BC, and we still need more research? I don't think so. I think we've
Yeah.
got all the research we need, and I think we just need to allow people to make their choices on their own.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? At the end of the day, we're grown-ups, and like that's what we were saying at the start. Like, what we choose to do to our own bodies is sort of our own business, really. And the fact that, yeah, I mean, CBD and cannabis have been around for forever, and no one's died from taking it. You cannot die from taking it. You can have there's so many other things that they will literally prescribe that are so much more dangerous. I mean, yeah, they'll say, oh, well, it can make you crazy. I remember being in rehab and her saying to me that I was there for another reason, but she was saying to me that, I could, go into psychosis and, lose my mind if I carried on smoking weed when I got home. And I just thought, do you know what? I've been smoking so I'm 32 now, and I've been smoking it pretty much daily since I was 17. And I had a worse reaction to a pharmaceutical drug that I was prescribed by a doctor. I lost my mind. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. Whereas, I've smoked weed for however many years, and it's not even any side effects or anything have never even come close to that pharmaceutical drug that they gave me, they prescribed and they give to people with MS. And it pains me seeing people in groups being like, oh, I've been prescribed pregabalin, which is what it was, because it's just wild. It's wild how they allow things and then don't allow things. And yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it does. It amazes me that doctors rely a lot on information, but yet they still seem to want to hold on to that false information, that false narrative that was provided, you know, as far back as the 60s, 70s, 80s,
Mhm.
and 90s, of the doper culture to the dare program culture to the, McGruff type thing. People want to group in those who may transport it or grow it illegally and the nefarious activities that might follow with that. They want to group the people who need it to smoke it, to eat it, in with those same people. And that's not fair, because yes, I may need it, but I'm not going to die from it. However, if I involve myself in a situation that might be illegal on a large scale, of course there's risk involved. There's risk involved with any job you might do if you're doing something wrong, but it shouldn't be labeled as wrong for the patients who need to use it. Ergo, they need to make it more available and make the growing and the sale of it easier to access for more people like us, and even back to the normal person who just wants to take the edge off for the night. Because
Mhm.
I believe that person who takes ibuprofen or aspirin, or the person who needs the beer, they should be allowed to take cannabis in some form as well, at least to make that choice on their own.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, like we're grown-ups, we can make that decision. Like,
Right.
I'm really funny about what I put in my body. And yeah, I mean, I research things, think I'm fairly intelligent and clued up. And yeah, I mean, like I just said, no one's died from consuming cannabis. People die of, having drink problems all the time. Like, and that is
Exactly.
extremely legal and actually celebrated, especially in this country. Like, it's like going for a drink at the pub is like just British culture. And it's
Yeah.
like, I would say that alcohol's probably more damaging, but that's my opinion. Um,
Yeah.
but there's very much a kind of if things are legal, they're okay, and if they're not legal, then they're absolutely not okay. And it frustrates me sometimes that very intelligent people, do not use their brain just because the government have decided that, well, this is illegal, so you can't do it, therefore it's really bad, but we know best. And it's kind of like, don't know actually, based on my own information, but it's just the way some people are, I think. But I'm not one
I
of
agree. I agree.
them. I'm not one of them. But yeah, let me have a look at my notes. Is there anything else you want to cover with this? Because
No, I think I know. I love this conversation. This is great. See, this is why I really like your show, because it's so organic. It doesn't even feel like I've been doing it. It just feels like I've been enjoying a nice conversation with a friend.
yeah,
So that's why I
same.
really like your show, because it doesn't feel regimented like like you have a radio show, nothing like that. I like this. Thank you so much for bringing me on. I truly, truly appreciate it.
No, I'm so glad to have you. And I think I think it's a topic. And again, I think people are scared. I think people with MS, I was when I first sort of was diagnosed, I was kind of like, oh, I don't really like telling people, like because of what people, they make assumptions. But I feel now a lot more confident in, well, myself in general and my illness, in that I can be like, do you know what? Actually, no. Like I said before, the things I've achieved in my life, I've achieved them all while still being a stoner. So it's kind of like I actually think I'm probably quite a good advert for kind of responsible cannabis use. And that is what it is as well, is with being responsible with it. I mean, it's like the alcohol thing. I mean, you can have a drink or whatever, but it's when you start abusing something, that's when it becomes a problem. And I think, if you are smoking literally, well, I don't want to say from the minute you get up, but just constantly, and just like, really sort of using it as a kind of escapism, in that you just, like with anything, when you drink or you go out and sleep with those people, or like as a real coping mechanism, it's not ideal. And I think maybe people should probably address kind of any sort of underlying issues. But when it's, you're using it responsibly, you're not abusing it, there's not a problem. That, in my opinion. But yeah, just be
I agree.
responsible.
Yep. Everything in moderation, right? Everything in
Yeah.
moderation.
Yeah, I mean, it's
What I'll
like,
do too is, for your listeners, is I'll go ahead and send you some links. That way you can spread them out, to your listeners, who might want to save a little bit. I don't believe that the company that I work with ships overseas. So this would have to unfortunately be for any of your American listeners. We're working on it though. He's just got to find the right path to make it as affordable for you guys as it is for him. But I'll go ahead and send you a link. That way, any of your users can save some money if they want to utilize the same CBD hemp products that I use. Not cannabis, not pot, but CBD, so
yeah.
medicine.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I will put obviously your Instagram handle and everything, and just I'll put it all in the comments and the description, so yeah, people can have a nosy and explore. And yeah, hopefully this conversation will, you know, maybe encourage people to kind of look into the benefits of cannabis if they haven't really come across it before, because like we've said, it's relatively safe. I mean, as long as you're not, like I say, going in and taking about 5 edibles and just being, because you're not going to have a good time, like please don't do that. But I
I
mean,
don't recommend that. No, I don't recommend that. And like you just said, do your research as you would with anything else. If you went to the doctor and they wanted to put you on A, B, C medications, wouldn't you go research
mhm,
that?
yeah,
Absolutely. So
yeah,
it's the same thing with cannabis. Research what's going to work best for you, and start small.
yeah.
Definitely don't eat a bunch of edibles.
Yeah, I don't even think I'd be able to handle that, to be honest. Like, I'm trying to think the last
No,
time I
no.
had an edible. I think it was probably about a year ago. I was fine, actually. It was quite an enjoyable experience. But I
Yeah,
don't think I'd be able to kind of like go about my daily business if I'd have. It's more of, again, for me, it's just more of an evening thing. But then again, each to their own.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it's very rare, to be honest, in the day. But again, it's just like we've said with MS, it's like you fine tune your shit, like how you
yeah.
deal with your illness. And you know, I have so much respect for all of us because we all have our own little protocols and we all have our own little things that we do for us. And like we said at the start, we'd never push them on anyone, but I think it's important to share and have these conversations and be like, well, X, Y, and Z helps me. What helps you? How does it help you? Could it help me? Like, so I think, yeah, I think having conversation about this is important because it is very taboo. And I'm nervous about putting this podcast out, to be honest, because people see me as sort of like, you know, I'm very much into my fitness, my bodybuilding, and very seen to be healthy and sort of, and obviously, you know, smoking a joint, those two are kind of like seen to contradict each other when I don't think that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't feel the need to hide it from anyone. I mean, I used to, but
Yeah, I think as time moves on, we're getting more and more away from stigma surrounding it. And I think the best thing I can say is base your opinion or what your ultimate decision is on facts, not
mhm,
on people's opinions of what they might think surrounds cannabis. And if you notice, I like to use the word cannabis. I hate the word marijuana. I think it's a horrible, dirty, dirty word.
I
And that's
never, I
part of
did,
the problem. That's part of the culture is that's wrapped around with that weed dope type thing. It is medicine and it has been for a very, very long time. So the best thing I can say is base your information off of facts, not other people's guesses or opinions.
yeah, I would agree. I'm trying to think what I call it. I think I would just call it weed here. I think that's what we
And see,
do.
I'm okay with weed. I'm better with
Weed,
weed.
yeah.
I can say weed, that's fine. But I don't know. I just don't like the M word.
I would never call it the M word, I don't think. I think in a more like professional capacity, I would refer to it as cannabis. If I was, you know, if I was writing a post or, you know, like I've sort of introduced it on here, but yeah, I'd be like, I think if I was just talking to like a friend or whatever, I'd just sort of be like, I need to get some weed for later or whatever. But it's
Yeah,
just interesting to the difference between obviously the UK and America and like what we call things and what
yeah.
the appropriate name for it. But yeah, no, I agree with you about the marijuana thing. It's I never call it that, never ever.
No,
Um,
no.
but yeah, I mean, is there anything else? I feel like we could talk about this for ages, to be honest,
I know,
because
right? I could just go on forever, but no, no, no. I'm pretty good. I really, really appreciate you having me on today. You're so amazing, Ms. Katt. I look forward to hearing this and spreading the news. Let everybody know that it's a safe, safe way to possibly help yourself.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like yeah, I will just finish on saying that it's just something that's helped me for a very long time, and I think people like us shouldn't be ashamed of something that really, really does help us, and be responsible, enjoy enjoy it, and yeah, hopefully it will help in whatever
Absolutely.
way.
Absolutely.
But yeah, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for getting up so early.
Oh, absolutely. I love it. Thank you so much, Miss Katt. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And like I said, I look forward to this coming out. That way I can let everybody know and spread the news.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm just going to stop the recording now. Hang on.
Okay.
There we go. Thanks for listening, guys. And oh, actually, the next podcast I'm doing is with someone I know from social media. This is how we know each other, actually, is just through social media. And the next WhatMS podcast is going to be on dating with a chronic illness. So you've got that to look forward to
I will definitely be listening to that.
in the coming weeks. I think we're going to film it. Where are we? I think we said maybe end of July. Yeah, this lovely girl called Lauren, we've sort of decided we're going to do that. So yeah, that will be the next podcast for you guys to listen out to. But yeah, until then, thank you so much to everyone for listening.